All right, we're going to get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Morris. I'm a special education attorney, and I do special education advocacy and litigation at the Cuddy law firm. Thank you all for coming to this. We hope everyone is safe and well. And we're here today to talk about transition planning. A little bit about me. My younger brother has special needs. I attended his IEP meetings. So I've been where you guys are, going to IEP meetings, creating and reviewing his transition plan. And so hopefully today can help you understand the transition planning process a little bit better. Also, I'm going to be going through this in English, take any questions, and then I'm going to be going through the presentation in Spanish. And we also just want to let everyone know we are recording this. So let's get started. So transition planning. What is it? Why do we do it? And what are we looking at? Starting at least at age 15, when your child turns 15, if they have an IEP, your school district needs to create a transition plan to be part of your child's IEP, their individualized education program. And we're looking at what does the student need now and in the next coming years so they can be as prepared as possible for life after high school, whether that's when they're graduating at 18 or 21, because your child, if they have an IEP, they are entitled to stay in school until they're 21. And we're starting this early, right? We're looking at this starting when your child turns 15, because we don't want this to be your child's last year or their second to last year, and we're rushing to figure out what are their next steps. We want to start figuring that out now and help get the individual to where they need to be to live a full and independent life. And we're going to be looking at your child, the individual's needs, preferences, and interests, what they want to do. And specifically, the district needs to be looking at your child's education, employment, and independent living skills and goals once they leave high school. And we're talking both in general and more specific as we'll get into. But what are your child's educational goals once they leave high school? What are their employment goals once they leave high school? What are independent living goals? And how do we get them there, right? Do they want to attend college? Maybe your child has an intellectual disability, but there are programs for individuals with intellectual disabilities to attend classes. My younger brother has an intellectual disability. His goal was to attend college. He saw his two older siblings attend college. And there are programs for individuals with intellectual disabilities to go and attend classes at college. So just because that's their goal, right, doesn't mean there can't be a way to achieve and work towards that goal. Right, employment goals. What are their goals? What do they want to do once they graduate? Where do they want to work? What type of job do they want to have, right? They may not be able to have a full-time job, but they probably might be able to have a part-time job. And so let's identify their job goals and help get them the job skills they need. And independent living, right? Where do they want to live once they leave high school, right? We're talking about these things generally, but we do want to get specifics on this. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through this. So number 2, what does the district need to do? How are we getting this information? The most important thing is transition assessments, transition evaluations. The regulations say the district needs to complete a transition assessment when your child turns 12. But at least when your child turns 15, the district needs to start creating this transition plan and making it a part of your child's IEP. So if your child had that initial transition assessment when they were 12, that's great. Now they're 15. So they either need at least a new one or a first one if your district did not do it when they turned 12. Right? We want to get information from your child on their goals and preferences for education, employment, and living once they're out of high school. And your district might have a transition assessment they give all students to get this sort of general information. But if your child needs another type of evaluation or further assessments done, talk with your school about it, right? If your child has really severe daily living skill issues or independent living skill issues, and we're now starting to really create this plan for how they're going to be living and what skills they need for once they leave high school, maybe we want to do an assessment that evaluates and investigates their daily living skills so we can get more information on this. Your child should now be invited to these IEP meetings, right? Your child is always part of this team, but now that we're talking about their post-secondary goals, what do they want to do once they leave high school, they need to really be invited to these IEP meetings. right? And maybe your child only stays for part of the meeting where you talk about that transition plan. Maybe they stay for the whole meeting. But the point is, we want your child involved in this transition planning process, and we want them at these meetings, right? My younger brother came to these meetings once he turned 15, and he stayed for the whole meeting. And we checked in with him to make sure, Ryan, these are the jobs you want to be looking into. This is what you want to do when you leave school. To make sure he did want to do something, right? Maybe he had put a goal for something, a long-term goal for employment, and we asked, that really is what you want to do? And he said, yes, he's confirming it, right? We want them involved. It's about what they want to do. Next, and really importantly, the district needs to create present levels of performance for your child's transition needs. So just like in my first program, we talked about creating your child's IEP, and there's sections about present levels of performance. Once this transition plan is part of your child's IEP, there's a separate section about their transition present levels of performance, looking at your child's preferences and interests for life after high school. And it's going to be in the areas of education, employment, and independent living, because that's what their goals are going to be based on. So we want to get specific and detailed information about their general goals for what they want to do after high school. What do they hope to achieve? And what issues are they having? So for instance, this present levels of performance information should not be talking about classes they're taking now. Sometimes districts will put that information in. They'll say, generally speaking, they want to attend a college, and right now their course list is XYZ. That's not the information we want. We want to know what their goals are for after school, and what are we going to do now to help get them there. We don't want vague statements, right? So there's going to be a section that says it's the present levels of performance in their transition plan. What are their employment goals? What are their education goals? And what are their independent living goals for once they leave school? And there's usually going to be a statement about what their preferences and interests are for those areas. We do not want a vague statement such as they plan to have a job in the food industry. They want to live at home, so independent living skill needs are not applicable. No, no, no. We want concrete and detailed information, what their goals and interests are, right? Maybe your child doesn't know, right, the first or maybe second year what their actual job goals are, but we can still know about their interests. Johnny is interested in being a chef, and he wants to do something relating to food, but he is not sure what job or career he wants, right? Then we have some more information, especially about that independent living. Sometimes schools will say, especially if a student is higher functioning or maybe has a learning disability, they'll say this isn't applicable. And I doubt that that's true, right? I feel like a lot of students might have some area of daily living skill needs that they might need to work on. So don't let a district sort of get away with that. Similarly, if your child is going to be living at home, one, that might not be their goal. So Ryan's goal for independent living was always he wants to live in a house with his girlfriend or in a home with a group of his friends. But he has severe daily living skill needs, right? So we need to make sure those are addressed. You want to make sure those are on the IEP, that they're not just saying, student's going to be living at home after he graduates, so we don't need to worry about their independent living skills. No, we're looking at what do we need to do now so that when this student graduates, they're prepared and as independent as possible. Then once we have that present level of performance information, right, their goals generally, where they are, what they need assistance with, you're actually going to be creating goals for their IEP that's going to be just like where their other goals are, right? Goals for reading, for writing, for math, for social skills. There should be goals to help them move towards their transition planning goals. Just like other goals, they need to be measurable, they need to be meaningful, and they need to be tailored to your child's needs, right? So once you identify, right, Johnny wants to have a career in the food service industry, he likes to cook, but he doesn't really know what job he wants, then you can hone down the types of goals he might need. Maybe his goal is Johnny is going to identify 3 types of careers in the food industry he would like to look into, right? And just because he doesn't have a specific career, or even if he does have a career, so for instance, my brother, his employment goals were he wants to have a job working with kids or work in a car dealership helping sell cars. He still needs goals such as interviewing skills, needing to create a resume, Maybe your child needs a goal to fill out a job application. So there's tons of goals that can be created and developed for your child based on their individual needs and goals. They also might need to take a class for that education goal, right? Maybe they want to go to a 2 or 4 year college. Maybe they need to take a prerequisite. His goal is going to be identifying a language class to take in the next 2 years so that he has that prerequisite out of the way and can get into a 2 or 4 year college, right? Maybe he needs to take a driver's ed or SAT class. And then you want goals, especially if your child has daily living skill needs, right? We're not just looking now at academics and making progress. We're looking on preparing your child for life after high school. And it all depends on your child's levels. It's individualized, like everything else on IEPs. But some areas you might want to think about are money. Does your child know how to use money? Do they know how to budget? If not, you might want a goal to address that. Setting alarms and using clocks. Do they know how to do this? Do they know how to set an alarm? Are you going to get them a watch that just can tell them the time if they press a button to help assist with this, and they're going to learn how to use it? Hygiene, right? Does your child need to be reminded to shower, to put on deodorant, to brush their teeth? If so, maybe you want goals to help start making it so that they know they need to do these things and they don't need to be reminded. Because even if they're going to be living in a group home, or even if they are living home after school, they need to get these skills to be more independent. Maybe they need self-advocacy goals, letting someone know when they're hungry, letting someone know when they don't feel well. Maybe self-advocacy goals of getting to class on time. My younger brother attended his out-of-district placement and then attended a BOCES vocational program. And so we had goals for him to have a note to set his alarm, and when his alarm went off, he needed to leave to go catch his bus. Did we just say and put everything on Ryan? You know, you missed your bus, you're not going that day? No, there were backup plans, but the goal is to start, helping them get more independent and get these self-advocacy skills. Does your child know how to use a phone appropriately, right? Do they know 911, when to use it? Do you need to start making sure numbers are on the back of their phone and when they need to use those emergency numbers? Doing laundry, cooking, cleaning, do they know how to do these things? Do they need to learn how to do these things? Managing meds and taking their own medication, is that something that your child needs to work on? Leisure skills, do they know how to occupy themselves when no one's around? So we need to work on identifying, playing video games, picking out appropriate movies. Dressing, can they dress themselves? Can they dress themselves appropriately? Do they know how to pack if they're going to go on an overnight trip? If your child's in a wheelchair, you might need to be thinking about making them more functionally independent once they leave school. For instance, moving in and out to get into and out of the shower. So things to think about, and daily living skills are a really important part. Don't let a district bypass those. In addition, you should be talking at these transition plan meetings about the type of diploma your child's going to be getting and what they need to graduate, just so everyone's on the same page. Number 3, what can be part of this transition plan? You're going to get a coordinated set of transition services. And so what are types of things you can get? One is instruction, right? So maybe your child needs to take a class as part of this transition plan. Maybe a life skills class, maybe an SAT class, a driving course, a computer class. They need to get skills on how to use a computer, right? Depending on your child's individualized needs and what their goals are. Related services, right? Occupational therapy, speech language therapy, feeding therapy, social skills group. Maybe your child is already getting occupational therapy 3 times a week. But again, and yes, there might be overlap, but they're getting occupational therapy at that time, maybe for academic or functional needs in the school. Right now, we're also looking, though, for life after high school, not just making progress, but how we can make them more independent for once they're out of high school. So maybe if they're already getting occupational therapy 3 times a week, maybe the Committee on Special Education, maybe at your IEP meetings, we need to talk about, does this individual need more occupational therapy sessions per week? Or if he's getting them in group, does he need more individual sessions to really ramp up as we're getting prepared for the student to leave high school? You can get pre-vocational and vocational training, right? So like I said, my brother went to a BOCES program for part of the school day to get pre-vocational training. He also, as I said, identified as a potential employment goal working with children. So they had him work for part of a semester in the elementary school PE class to see if that's something he liked. He worked on and got interview skills when he has to go on job interviews. So there's lots of ways to have those pre-vocational and vocational training, right? Job training. You also can get community experiences. So a big one is travel training. You can get that before your transition plan, but that's usually part of a transition plan, right? Does your child need someone to help them, train them for how to travel independently? Taking a train, taking a bus, learning a schedule, right? An individual can help work with your child to train them for how to go around the city. So for instance, Ryan's, during his school day, they would take a train, right, meet at a train station, get the ticket, go on the bus, go to Grand Central, do something, and come back, right? You're learning travel training and safety skills. Also, going to the grocery store, practicing budgeting, right? So a goal might be for your child, making a list of 5 items to buy, to go to the grocery store, to prepare lunch for themselves, and buy those 5 items with a budget, right? And then you're gonna want someone to go do that with them. So you wanna talk about the goals your child needs and the services that are the district's gonna provide to help make sure these goals can be accomplished. What else should be, number 4, what else should we be thinking about when we're creating this transition plan? And what are some agencies we might want to invite to the meeting? One is Access VR, ACCES VR, Adult Career Continuing Education Services - Vocational Rehabilitation. It is a long name, but this is an agency specifically to help individuals with disabilities get job skills, job training, job coaching, and job placement. So you might want to have them at these meetings when your child's thinking about getting a job, or maybe you want them to help identify areas that your child needs to improve in before they can get a job. So you can think about wanting them to be at your child's transition planning IEP meetings. OPWDD, the Office for Persons with Developmental Disabilities. If your child has a developmental disability, you should really consider applying for OPWDD services once your child graduates. You can get them while your child is in school, but when your child is out of school, right, you're thinking about what are they going to do with their day? How are they going to live a rich and meaningful life? And that's where OPWDD comes in. They file an application if they're found eligible, right? They get a budget from the state and they're allotted services. You hear people talking about my child's in a day hab program, it's day habilitation program. They also can get more pre-vocational services from OPWD, community habilitation, someone working with your child on those community outings, social skills. So the district can be inviting these agencies to your child's IEP meeting. So talk about this with your IEP team to see, where you stand and when they think it's appropriate to have them at the meetings. Your district also should be talking to you and having you think about, right, when your child's 16, 17, when your child turns 18, are you thinking about advanced directives, like a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney, or guardianship for your child? Because when your child turns 18, in the eyes of the law, they are an adult. And the next time, we're going to talk further about when your child turns 18, guardianships, and these OPWDD programs. And this transition plan, these present levels of performance, right, what your child's goals are after they leave high school, their actual goals that have to be on their IEP, the services they're getting. These have to be reviewed and revised annually, just like the rest of the IEP. So at every IEP meeting from 15 going forward, you should be talking about and reviewing this transition plan, right? This is not something that should be brushed over, even if nothing's new. It's doubtful nothing's new. And if nothing's changed, maybe you need a goal to address that. Quickly before we close, I just want to let everyone know that Governor Cuomo did announce that summer day camps can open on June 29th. There's no guidance that was provided on what these day camps have to do to open or their safety guidelines, but New York has said day camps can open. If you are looking for a day camp, Include NYC did put out a list and information about day camps and finding one. If you're in Westchester, you can also reach out and keep in contact with SPARC, S-P-A-R-C, and Greenberg Recreation to see if they open anything up over the summer. Amanda is going to put in the the link to include NYC for those summer camp information. And she's also going to put my information if anyone has any questions. So that's it. Thank you everyone for coming to this. Stay safe, and if anyone has questions, please ask them, or you can always contact us. Like I said, Amanda just put my contact information into the group chat. All right. How do we plan to transition if your child is out of state? I might need more information on that. If they're a New York, if they're, if they have a New York IEP and they're just placed out of district, out of state, you still should be getting a transition plan. And the federal law does also include that students have to have a transition plan on their IEP. Under the federal law, it's when they're 16. New York took it a step further and said, no, 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 when your child is 15, we want to start planning this. So wherever you are, your child should be getting a transition plan on their IEP. The age or year might be different. New York says when your child is 15, we want this transition plan on their IEP. Pennsylvania, if you want to reach out to us, we do have an attorney in Pennsylvania who can look into that. I can't answer anything on Pennsylvania law. But if you want to reach out to us, we can get you in contact with the attorney in our Pennsylvania office. Of course. Amanda just put his contact information. How do you know if guardianship is necessary? So that is something we're going to talk about at our next program. But that's a great question. And if your child has an intellectual or developmental disability and they can't make decisions for themselves, is sort of the quick answer, right? This is someone who needs someone to keep making decisions for them in their best interest. Because again, when they're 18, they're an adult in the eyes of the law. All right, thank you everyone. We're gonna switch over and do this in Spanish now. Any other questions, please email us, let us know, reach out to us. We're here for you, and stay safe, everyone. For the person asking about guardianship, if you want to contact me after, maybe we could talk a little bit more about your specific questions about emancipated minors and guardianships. So to make sure you know I did see you. It's a little outside the scope of this presentation, but if you have questions, please let me know. And Amanda just posted my contact information again. All right, I'm going to switch over to Spanish. Hola a todas personas, soy Alison Morris, soy una abogada de educación especial. Yo hago defensa y litigio de educación especial a Cuddy Law Firm. Muchísimas gracias por venir a eso. Espero que todos están seguros y bien. Y estamos aquí hoy para hablar sobre un plan de transición para los niños que tienen un IEP, un programa individualizado de educación. Y un poquito de historia sobre mi hermanito tiene necesidades especiales. Yo asistí a sus reuniones de IEP. Yo he estado donde están ustedes, asistir a las reuniones de IEP, crear y revisar los planes de transición. Y espero que hoy yo pueda ayudarles a entender este proceso de planear para la transición de vida después de la escuela secundaria mejor. Estamos grabando eso y entonces empezamos. Número 1, planificación de la transición. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Por qué nosotros lo hacemos? ¿Y qué estamos mirando? Empezando a lo menos cuando su niño tiene 15 años, el distrito necesita crear un plan de transición para su niño para ser parte del IEP, el EAP de su niño. Y estamos mirando lo que su niño necesita ahora y en los próximos años para que el estudiante esté lo más preparado posible para la vida después de la escuela. Si es de cuando su niño tiene 18 años o 21 años. Porque si su niño tiene un EAP, puede ser en la escuela hasta que tiene 21 años. Y estamos empezando este proceso temprano porque no queremos que estamos en la última año escolar y estamos en prisa para resolver los próximos pasos. Queremos resolverlo ahora y queremos ayudar a su niño para que él reciba lo que necesita para vivir una vida plena, mirando las necesidades de su niño y cuáles son sus intereses y qué él prefiere. Y específicamente el distrito necesita mirar a las necesidades a su niño en las áreas de educación, trabajo y vivir independiente. ¿Y cuáles son sus habilidades en esas áreas? Entonces, queremos pensar en esas áreas en general. ¿Cuáles son las metas de educación cuando sale de escuela, de trabajo, de vivir independiente? ¿Y cómo los llevamos allá? Su niño quiere asistir a una universidad. Quizás tiene una discapacidad intelectual, pero hay programas para los niños y estudiantes y individuales que tienen discapacidades intelectuales para asistir a clases. Mi hermanito tiene discapacidad intelectual y era su meta para asistir a la universidad y sí, tiene clases. ¿Está parte de la universidad? No, pero sí asistir a clases, entonces es posible. También de trabajo, quizás su niño no puede tener un trabajo a tiempo completo, pero quizás puede tener un trabajo a tiempo parcial. Y queremos que su niño tenga un trabajo si puede. Entonces vamos a identificar sus metas para un trabajo y obtener las habilidades de trabajo que necesita. Y también de vivir independiente. ¿Dónde quiere vivir su hijo? Y cómo ayudamos a prepararle para vivir allá. Número 2. ¿Qué el distrito necesita hacer? La cosa más importante de eso es que el distrito necesita hacer evaluaciones de transición a su niño. La regulación dice que el distrito necesita hacer una evaluación de transición a su niño cuando su niño tiene 12 años. Pero, a lo menos, cuando su niño tiene 15 años es cuando el distrito necesita poner en el IEP este plan de transición y hacer esas evaluaciones. Entonces, si recibe una evaluación de transición cuando su niña era 12 años, bueno, pero ahora su niño tiene 15 años. Entonces, queremos una evaluación nueva o una evaluación por primera vez, porque queremos esa información nueva. Queremos información de su niño sobre sus metas y preferencias de educación, trabajo y dónde quiere vivir después de escuela, porque necesitamos saber cómo podemos ayudarle de ser allá. Y quizás el distrito tiene una evaluación de transición por todos los estudiantes que tienen una IEP, pero si su niño necesita otro o más información, habla con el distrito para que el distrito pueda hacerlo. Por ejemplo, si su niño tiene muchos problemas con sus destrezas diarias de vida, el distrito puede hacer una evaluación en esa área para que nosotros tengamos más información de que su niño necesita. Su niño debe ser invitado a esas reuniones de IEP cuando el plan de transición estamos hablando sobre eso, y su niño puede quedar por el tiempo que puede. Quizás puede tomar por todo, quizás solo por los 15 minutos que todos están hablando sobre el plan de transición. El punto es que su niño necesita ser involucrado en ese proceso de transición y esas reuniones. El distrito necesita crear niveles actuales de rendimiento de ese plan de transición, como los niveles de rendimiento del resto del IEP, sobre los niveles académicos y físicos. Estos niveles de rendimiento necesitan ser detallosos y ser precisos. Y es lo que su niño quiere lograr después de escuela, sobre sus intereses y las preferencias de qué quiere cuando sale de escuela. En los áreas de trabajo, educación y donde quiere vivir después de escuela. Esa información no debe ser lo que su niño está haciendo ahora o las clases su niño está tomando en este momento. Eso es sobre los intereses y las preferencias y qué quiere hacer cuando sale de escuela, no lo que el distrito está haciendo y dándole a su niño ahora. Y no queremos declaraciones vagas, como por ejemplo, ese niño va a querer vivir a casa después de escuela, o quiere un trabajo en el área de vender coches. O en la área de comida. No, queremos más información de lo que su niño quiere hacer. Y si no sabe qué quiere hacer, está bien, pone esa información en esta área, en esta sección, para que nosotros sabemos toda la información. Porque esa información y metas general van a ayudarnos a crear metas que necesita ser en el IEP, como las otras metas en el IEP de su niño, en las áreas de leer y escribir. Va a ser metas en el IEP sobre este plan de transición. Entonces necesitamos esa información de lo que su niño quiere hacer. Por ejemplo, lo de mi hermanita era quiere vivir después de escuela en una casa con su novia o quizás en una casa con un grupo de sus amigos. Y ahora necesitamos saber, ok, ¿qué necesita para hacer eso? ¿Qué habilidades de vivir independiente necesita para hacer eso? Y entonces las metas son lo de educación, trabajo y vivir independiente. Y están individualizados o los metas son de su niño. Por ejemplo, necesita necesitar ayuda con una reanudar, o quizás necesita ayuda a identificar el trabajo que quiere. Por ejemplo, quizás un niño no sabe lo que quiere hacer, pero sabe que es con cocinar algo. Entonces puede tener una meta. Este niño va a identificar 2 trabajos en el área de cocina que quiere. También quizás una meta de hacer habilidades de hacer una entrevista, hacer una solicitud de trabajo. Esas son las habilidades que puede obtener con esas metas. También quizás necesita tomar una clase, necesita tener una meta de tomar una clase para que asistir a una universidad. Necesita quizás tomar una clase de un idioma para asistir a una universidad. Pero si nosotros no sabemos que si su niño quiere asistir a una universidad, nosotros no sabemos que necesita hacer eso. Y más probable que no, su niño necesita algunas metas específicas sobre los destrezas diarias de vida. Ahora no somos mirando a lo que su niño necesita para hacer progreso en esa área, pero para vivir independiente después de la escuela. Entonces, algunas cositas que quizás necesita pensar en si su niño necesita una meta para esa es el dinero. Sabe cómo usarlo, sabe cómo hacer un presupuesto. Su niño sabe cómo usar un reloj o poner una alarma. Su niño necesita ayuda con el higiene. Por ejemplo, los padres necesitan recordarle para ducharse, cepillar los dientes, usar desodorante. Entonces, sí, quizás necesitan metas para que el niño pueda hacerlo por sí mismo, sin una persona diciendo necesita hacerlo. Quizás necesita más metas para la autorrepresentación. Por ejemplo, dice a una persona, sí, tengo hambre, sí, estoy enferma. O quizás poner una alarma para ir a clase, es lo que mi hermanito tiene. Quizás necesita una meta de usar un celular apropiadamente. Si su niño no sabe cómo lavar la ropa, cocinar, lavar la casa, quizás metas como así. Y una persona va a ayudar a enseñar a su niño cómo hacer esas cosas. Su niño necesita quizás una meta para tomar medicina solo. Quizás del ocio, si su niño sabe cómo ocuparse si está solo, sin ayuda, de vestirse. Y si su niño está en una silla de ruedas, puede moverse como en la ducha, quizás necesita metas para esas cosas. Y también el distrito necesita hablar en estas reuniones de transición de qué su niño necesita para graduarse y qué tipo de diploma va a recibir. Y número 3, ¿qué puede ser parte de ese plan de transición? Que usted va a recibir servicios de transición, un conjunto de servicios de transición. ¿Y qué puede recibir? Uno es instrucción. Quizás su niño necesita una clase para obtener habilidades para la vida, una clase de autorrepresentación, una clase para que puede obtener información de cómo usar computadoras, un clase de conducir. Es muy individualizado a lo que son los metas de su niño. Puede recibir servicios relacionados, terapia ocupacional, terapia física, terapia de comer, un grupo para obtener habilidades sociales. Sí, quizás su niño todavía está recibiendo terapia ocupacional 3 veces cada semana, pero ahora estamos viendo esa a través de la lente de no solo hacer progreso, pero preparar a su niño para la vida después de la escuela. Entonces, si está recibiendo terapia ocupacional 3 veces cada semana, pero necesita más ayuda para obtener más habilidades de vivir independiente, quizás necesita más terapia ocupacional durante la semana o quizás necesita más individualmente, no en grupo. También puede recibir entrenamiento por trabajo para obtener las habilidades de tener un trabajo, para hacer una entrevista. Quizás necesita tener un trabajo por parte del año escolar para ver si le gusta ese trabajo. También experiencias en la comunidad. Una parte muy grande de eso es entrenamiento de viajes. Una persona que puede tomar a su niño en el tren, en el autobús, y que su niño puede aprender el horario. También una persona que puede tomar a su niño al supermercado y practicar el presupuesto. Por ejemplo, un método de su niño quizás puede ser, su niño va a tomar una lista de cinco cosas que necesita para hacer almuerzo y van a comprar esas 5 cosas con un presupuesto. Entonces necesita una persona que puede tomar a su niño al supermercado y el distrito necesita saber y decir a usted quién va a hacer eso con su niño. Número 4. ¿Cuáles son las otras cosas que necesitamos pensar en cuando estamos creando ese plan de transición? ¿Y cuáles son algunas agencias que quizás queremos invitar a estas reuniones? Uno se llama Access VR, ACCESBR. Es una organización solo por individuales que tienen discapacidades y ayuda con entrenamiento por trabajo, averiguar trabajos por individuales que tienen discapacidades. Otra organización es Opwdd, la Oficina de Personas que tienen Discapacidades de Arroyo. Y cuando su niño se gradúa de escuela secundaria, si tiene discapacidad de desarrollo, entrega una solicitud para Opwdd si no has hecho, porque es como recibir financiamiento del Estado para que su niño pueda recibir servicios y programas para vivir una vida plena. Y el distrito puede invitar a estas organizaciones y cualquier otra organización que necesita para hablar sobre el futuro de su niño. Entonces, habla con su distrito si necesita esas organizaciones a su reunión de IEP y cuándo quiere invitarlos. También el distrito debe hablar a ustedes para pensar en si su niño necesita una tutela o directivas anticipadas, porque cuando su niño tiene 18 años, entre la ley es un adulto. Y la próxima vez vamos a hablar más sobre cuando su niño tiene 18 años, la tutela y Opwdd. Y este plan de transición, todo, los niveles de rendimiento, los metas generales, los metas que son parte de la IEP, los servicios, todo de esto necesita ser revisado cada año como el resto de la IEP. Entonces, cada año debe hablar sobre ese plan de transición durante la reunión de IEP de su niño. Y muy rápidamente, antes de nosotros terminamos, quiero que ustedes saben que el gobernador ha dicho que el campamento de verano puede abrir. No hay dirección de qué necesita hacer, pero Nueva York se ha dicho que los campamentos pueden abrir al fin de junio, el 29 de junio. Entonces, si está buscando por un campamento, include New York City, tiene un listo de algunos campamentos, porque nosotros hemos ponido la información en el chat. Entonces, si quiere mirar o está buscando por un campamento, puede mirar esta información. Entonces, es todo. Muchísimas gracias por venir a eso. Cuídense y tiene algunas preguntas, estamos aquí para usted. Mi información está en el chat también. Y voy a quedar aquí si alguien tiene una pregunta. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por todo. Adiós.